All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am a little bit late to this particular topic, and I apologize. There was just some other things I obviously wanted to cover in the meantime, but now it's time to talk about Japan bending the knee.
I have machines of all kinds. Marvelous machines. They can do things you would not believe.
So apparently Sega has embraced, according to Phantom Pulse, Sega has embraced localizer censorship and accuses fans of harassment. Now, this headline is obviously very aggressive. I don't think it's particularly exactly what the headline says, but it is damn near close, ladies and gentlemen. It is a scary thing to see. Sega completely bending the knee to what they feel, anyway, is the actual customer base within the Western market. They don't realize, and I don't think they realize it for many different reasons. It could be cultural aspects, it could be lack of understanding the language, but they don't realize that all these people who are complaining on Twitter are not the actual customers of their products, and they think that if they bend the knee and they kowtow to the whole woke mob, that that's somehow going to get them more sales, and that's somehow going to get them less cancellation, less whatever. They don't understand how Twitter actually works, in my opinion, at least not when it's used by us on the Western side. So let's get into this article, guys, from Phantom Pulse. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. Like the video to push us out into the YouTube algorithm, and consider subscribing to my manga channel. The links are in the description box below in my link tree. I would love to see you there. Now, very clearly, Sega, Japan, okay? Sega, yeah, they're still like relevant for the most part, but not really, okay? In my opinion, they have great titles that I wish had really good adaptations right now, at least modern-wise. You know, Sonic is probably the one that really has it. Everything else is still kind of in the dust. I know they're reviving a lot of old IPs, which is great. I can't wait to see it, but still, I don't think they quite have an understanding of what it actually means when you have the West trying to make everything woke, right? You know, we're dealing with a lot of issues with woke localizations. That's something that we've been talking about on this channel for a while. Jamie Marchi probably being the prominent person that we talk about most of the time, but still, we're dealing with woke localizations, and unfortunately, it seems like Japan is thinking that that's what people want. They're thinking that people want to get stuff translated and make it culturally sensitive to the West. They don't understand that the people who are actually spending the money on their manga, the people who are actually spending the money on their video games, they don't want that. We don't want that. We want actual true translations as close to a one-to-one as humanly possible. Don't mess with the story, don't change it, and just give me a translated version of the Japanese entertainment. But unfortunately, we can't get that, and it's really starting to get annoying. It's starting to get really prominent, and this conversation is heating up big time. So it says Sega Japan has openly embraced censorship and woke localizations and is accusing their fans of harassment in response to criticism. How did this happen? The release of Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth last year was a massive red flag for gamers in the West, as it seemed there was a heavy tampering with the actual script and an excessively lackluster English voice actor, and many claims that the game was pushing a feminist agenda. It seemed to be just another victim in the long trend of Western localizers forcing their own ideology into beloved franchises, as it was part of the long-standing Yakuza series. Now, I don't play those games, me personally, okay? So I don't know what they did, but let's be real. We've seen what happens when the localizers get their hands on stuff. We've seen, especially certain teams, right? Certain teams are much more known for doing absolute nonsense, and we see what happens when they get their hands on it. And unfortunately, I wouldn't be surprised if they changed it so much to the point where it's damn near a different story, right? They think that if they change a couple of words here and there, that that's not changing the story. But they don't understand, by changing the context of the entire conversation, that is changing the story. So it says it wasn't until recently that we received an official stance on localization from Sega JP, as they sat down for an interview with the Japan Times, a notorious outlet that would take far too long to explain in this article. In it, they openly stated they were changing their games to be more culturally appropriate to international markets. They also included hashtags for the game Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, seeming to confirm to their fans that they let localizers massacre their game. Now, why would you, man, Why would you change the story to be more culturally appropriate to international markets? You clearly don't understand the international market, right? At least not in the West, at least not in the United States. If you want to talk about other countries or whatever, I can't speak on that because I don't live there, right? I don't understand their culture, so I can't give you a better understanding. But what I can tell you is that the people that complain about this stuff here in the United States, they don't actually buy your product. If we're talking about video games, most of them just watch games on YouTube. Most of them watch streamers play the game. They don't actually spend the money on the game that they're complaining about, right? If you change it for them, they're not giving you their money anyway. The people who are giving you their money, they're getting upset that you're changing the story knowingly, willingly changing the story. It's one thing if you're doing it ignorantly because you don't actually understand the translation, but at that point, you probably shouldn't be hired. But they are upset that you're changing the story to fit what? To fit what kind of woke narrative? Like, you're trying to fit liberal policies here in the United States, and that doesn't do anything for anybody who's actually trying to enjoy the game. All you're doing is pissing people the hell off and just getting people upset. But the thing is, they don't understand that. That's the problem. They don't understand it. I really do believe that by sheer ignorance or lack of understanding, they just don't get it. And unfortunately, unless somebody translates that to them and makes them understand, they're gonna constantly keep thinking that this is what we want, and we don't want this. So it says Sega and Yakuza fan series were livid. Both Japanese and English users responded, stating that they hated the idea that games were being released censored, including Mark Kern, the former team lead for World of Warcraft, who was around during the glory days of Blizzard Entertainment. Mark respectfully pleaded with them to not go down this route and rightfully pointed out that the massive boom in manga industry sales was all due to the US comics market absolutely collapsing and ignoring their former fans. But despite these heartfelt messages, Sega Japanese would take a day before blasting out their anti-harassment policy. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I can't help but laugh because he's right. He's 100% right. Manga industry has absolutely boomed, right? Manga is so popular that if I even told you, like if you guys saw my video on my manga channel, some of you, I know most of you did not, I made a video in the top 10 selling manga of 2023. And the unit sales that they have for manga is absolutely fucking insane. It will blow your mind just to hear some of the numbers that were coming out from these sales. I'll put it to you this way. The 10th highest selling manga of 2023 sold more than the entire American comic book industry most likely did the entire year of 2023. That's how high of a number they sold. And we know it's a fact because the American side of comic books will never release their actual unit sales. They don't have to. That has been changed. They don't have to tell you how much they actually sold, whereas the Japanese will proudly tell you exactly what they sold, whether it's a low amount or a high amount. So since I don't trust the American market because they're constantly hiding nonsense, I'm going to understand and realize that the Japanese are completely destroying them in every way imaginable. So it says, for many, this turned out into a joke, as Sega Japan was equating valid criticism and with harassment. How are gamers supposed to address their concerns with publishers if that very thing is now considered harassment? Was Mark Kern actually harassing Sega when he begged them to reconsider? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. We know that they haven't. But unfortunately, again, they're going to do what they got to do to protect themselves. They're going to do what they think is best for their own actual pockets, but they don't realize they're just going to hurt themselves in the end. This comment right here, I agree with 100% from Chaos Drive 50. It says the only thing we wanted is to keep Western politics out of Japanese games. We want to play the games as they were originally created. I agree. With one-to-one accurate translations and no censorship. The localizers are the ones who want to change the game for their own sensibilities. And then it continues, but I can't read it because it's a screenshot. Obviously not. Criticism being equated to harassment is not an unfamiliar accusation and is a tried and true tactic of progressive ideologues when they are challenged. And it seems Sega is officially adopting these tactics after working hand in hand with woke Western localizers. So unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, it seems like Western localizers are here to stay, at least for the time being, and they're trying to make their fingerprint bigger than it already is. They're trying to make sure that they have as much control over the story that's coming in, and they get to push their ideology through that, through the translations, right? Because they're not writing the story. They're not actually writing the book. They're not creating it. It's not like woke Hollywood, where they have writers that are actively creating a woke story. That's not what's happening here. These people are getting a good story coming in from Japan, and they're trying to do what what they can to change it into a Western story. That's what they're trying to do. And you're going to start seeing things get highly affected, whether it's video games first and manga second, who really knows? But you're going to start getting people really pissed off about these translations. And they already are, but it's only a matter of time before this whole thing explodes. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. And if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.